the E34 is back on a trailer. The Turbo Chronicles never end. So we're going back to Zach's house with the E34. I told you guys the dyno story. So basically I went out, I bought the new 525 Walbro pump. I bought a FPR, 1200cc injectors, a flex fuel sensor, and then whatever, I think that's it. And going to Zach's, we're gonna go install all that stuff and get her ready for E85. And then from there, I will reschedule a dyno tune. This will be all the install video, and then there'll be a dyno video, and hopefully it's not a dyno fail part 2. So fingers crossed that doing all this takes care of the problem. Like I said, I think the FPR was bad the entire time, so putting in a new adjustable one should take care of all my problems. And then that's kind of mandatory if you're doing E85 and such a big fuel pump. I'm going from a 255 to a 525, so some decent jump there in LPH. All right, so we're here in Zach's lair again, and so here we have the flex fuel sensor, AC Delco, Boost Monkey pigtail. Yeah, no problem. God, the guy's just botching my filming. So anyway, we got the Walbro TI Automotive 535 fuel pump, which is the one with no check valve, which I didn't realize at the time, but whatever, because this one came with the install kit. So it's got the pigtail, the sock, and then some hose that probably won't be used. And then I got the new 1200cc injectors, and then I got these two Aeromotive fittings for the FPR I got. This is a Magna fuel pressure regulator. So then these are so that I can run my stock fuel lines to it instead of AN lines, because I don't have AN fuel lines. I'm not bougie like that. So we already mocked up where we want to mount it, which is going to be right here, right off the power steering reservoir, so it's kind of perfect. The hood doesn't hit it, so that is phenomenal mounting. And then we're going to run the return from here up through here into that, and then out, and then the flex fuel sensor will probably be somewhere around here. So that gives us enough room to mount both of them in the engine bay, which is nice. My 60-pound injector on the left, and then my new 115 pound 1200cc 660cc. So you can see here the feed hole is already much bigger. Then the base is, probably can't see, but the 660 has 4 tiny holes. This has just one big one that opens up. So the problem with these is, though, I need adapters, because you can see the height is different. So the way the fuel rail mounts, I need I think an adapter on the top or the bottom. I can't quite make it out from here right now, but I need an adapter so that these plugs line up with the stock injector harness. So I got the rail off, and the culprit of all my issues, allegedly, for this whole year long of turbo build, my old garbage regulator. So stomp that out real quick, and so now what we're gonna do is cut this off and then weld a plate over that to seal the rail, since now the regulator is external, obviously. Zach's cutting the plate that's gonna be welded over this. You can see the stock pressure regulator like junk is right here. So that is all cut out, so that now it's just a free-flowing rail right to the return right here. So that plate he's cutting right now is gonna weld right over this and seal this thing up. They do make rails that don't have regulators in them, but I sold mine to Jimmy Oaks and can't find another one for cheap, so I sold mine to him for like 30 bucks. So you're welcome, Jimmy Oaks. Plate is welded on the rail, so the rail is ready to go back in. Intake manifold off, exposing my absolute mess of everything else underneath. So the game plan now is E34s have this stupid, the soft lines that come from the hard lines under the car go into this dumb like little brace with 2 more hard lines, and then these go into the rail. So these just make everything annoying putting on. This is bulky. And then since I have to run the lines back to the regulator up front now, I can't use these anymore. And they're just stupid in the way. So I'm just gonna delete these, pull the lines off the bottom, and then run my new line, fuel line, all the way up to that, and then back down. So
we'll go ahead and tighten some things here.
Yeah. Real close. Nope.
All right, that was tight to me.
What's this guy doing?
What's up with it, dog?
Get that shit out of my face, dog.
Whoa, whoa, whoa. All right, here putting in the new wall, bro, and of course I have a full tank of gas, so I'm gonna go ahead and drain some of that out with this thing, round 2, so I have a little more room to pull my pump out. So I got the pump out. Here's the 525 next to the 255. It's not really much of a noticeable size difference at all. Yeah, you can hardly even tell. This is actually shorter. The 525 is shorter, but it's got a wider base. We got the pump safety wired to the middle like holder, which then sits in this holder, which plugs in there. So I forgot my camera last night when we were doing the fuel pump, but something I kind of wanted to touch on. So this is a stock E34 sending unit with the pump. I have a bunch of these laying around from parts cars. So this is the level sensor, and then obviously this is the pump setup. So on ours, we shortened the bottom because the Walbro is shorter than this. Slipped it in, and then I noticed that with this whole stock setup, the return line hooks into the plastic housing. And then I noticed here, so what the return hooks onto, then there's an O-ring, and this actually slips into the housing that sits at the bottom of the gas tank that this clamps into. And then the return goes through that housing on the bottom of the tank, and then I guess out back into the tank. But I was thinking, this is a lot of like restriction, especially like going through this tiny little thing and then all the way through that housing, and God knows how dirty the housing is on the inside. So what we ended up just doing was just snipping the return right here. So now the fuel that returns into the gas tank will literally just kind of fall from this. It'll just kind of waterfall into the tank. That's how like most like, you know, horsepower, high horsepower car setups are anyway. Like with a fuel cell, it just kind of waterfalls in. So now maybe my E34 will have a waterfall in the trunk that we'll be able to hear, because the gas will just kind of fall down into the tank now, avoiding all this restriction that I'd imagine this encounters. So not that I think that was ever giving me problems, but that's something that now is bettered in that system. So finally here to finish up the E34, and my key wasn't working in either of the doors. Not even one door would unlock. So luckily back in the day, old head E34 owner told me, if you come in your grill right here, there's a little latch and it's emergency hood pop. So I popped the hood and hooked up a jump box and was able to get it. Crisis averted. I got pretty nervous for a second there. So we got all the adapters for the injectors. Got them in. Shane liking it. We got not a tuner over here. Trying to figure out if we can get this thing to just fire up. We got it started. Runs not so good. Mike and Ike sponsored build. Very good.
Very good gloves.
So wiring in the flex fuel sensor, which is down there, routed up here. Got to put it in the plug and play, and then see what we can do here. I've been anxiously eating Mike and Ike's.
Let's get back on that
tuner. So we chose the ID 1300 like preset, and actually we're able to get her fired up and idling on its own rather than me having to give it gas. It sounds very weird. Sounds like a tractor, but idle's pretty solid. AFRs are a cool 14. That's not bad at all. Actually, that's almost perfect.
Check this shit out though.
So this is
ethanol content.
We got an E85. I just scratched my roof with the GoPro. So we got ethanol content now. The flex fuel sensor works. AFRs are pretty solid. These are all my vitals.
Oh no.
Oh, I don't have an oil pressure sensor. So now that everything is in order, I'm gonna do the final boost leak test since I had the manifold off. So I got this tester that was homemade, not by me, but so take this hose clamp off my turbo filter, pop it on this, and pop that on Z turbo. All right, get that on there and hose clamp this down. Cap off. Booster up to 20 and see what happens. I do not hear anything. Dropping nice and slow. Pretty good. Looks like everything went on as it should. Hear a little bit out of the wastegate, normal. I think that's a good go for the boost leak test. I think we're all set. This thing's been sitting outside for a month and a half, 2 months. So I'm gonna give her a nice little hose down before the dyno tomorrow so it doesn't look absolutely disgusting.